is going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about the Patriots versus the Eagles and their week 1 matchup. And I think, when I was talking about this game on Friday, I don't think I had that much optimism. I mean, for someone who's generally pretty optimistic, I think I even said that I had already accepted them losing. So this game was far better than what I was anticipating. And even though they didn't win, I am excited. I think we have a lot to look forward to, and I was getting so frustrated on Twitter yesterday because it was like the first quarter, and obviously things were going badly in the first quarter of this game, but the fact that people were already saying the game was over and it wasn't even the second quarter, I was like, guys, calm down. It's the first quarter of the first game. Like, we have to give them some time. So, we're going to go over what I think were like the most important aspects of the game in just a second. But I also want to talk about, the biggest thing of the day, which was Tom Brady. Tom Brady Day. Before I get into that though, I see Sean says, I had the same feeling going into the game, figured defending NFC champs, and we always start the slow in September. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, and that's why I feel like people need to kind of come away with this a little bit more optimistically than what a lot of people are saying today. Chris says it could have been worse. We could have been Giants fans. Yeah, that was rough. Oh my gosh, that was really bad. But so I wanted to talk about Tom Brady Day because obviously that was a big part of yesterday's game, before, during, and I don't know if there was so much about it afterwards, but I think we went into this with some high expectations because obviously this was Brady's first time back at Gillette as a Patriot, basically, since he left 3 years ago. And we were all thinking, okay, like, what are they going to do for Tom Brady? Are they going to retire his jersey? Are they going to erect a statue? Is he going to sign a one-day contract? And none of that happened. So a lot of people think that it was exciting, obviously, because it was Tom Brady and he had his Patriots jersey on. He ran down the field and did his famous "Let's go." But I think there were some people who felt like it was a little bit underwhelming. And to a certain extent, I agree, because I think, we all had these really high expectations, and they didn't deliver. But I don't know that I think we should go into or thinking that it was like super disappointing, because I liked that he was, the first one to ring the bell of the lighthouse, which I guess that is going to be like a new tradition, which I am so here for, because I always loved how, the Bucks had the cannons and the Vikings had the horn thing, whatever. And or even the Seahawks, they have the raising of the 12th man flag. So I think it's kind of cool that the Patriots are going to have something like that. And I'm really interested to see who they end up bringing in, the rest of this season, but forever, basically, and who else is going to ring the bell. I think that's going to be really cool. And I felt like Brady's speech at halftime was really nice. So they announced that he will be getting into the Patriots Hall of Fame next June, on June 6th, or June 12th, 2024, 6/12/24. And I think maybe they'll be saving some stuff for that, and maybe that's why they didn't do a whole lot in the game. I'm thinking maybe they're going to wait until his actual Hall of Fame ceremony to maybe retire his jersey, or maybe, I don't know, maybe a statue or something. I don't know. Obviously a statue would have taken longer than the time allotted that they knew about, but I think the biggest thing that I would take away from what he had to say was that he declared he is a Patriot for life. And I don't know about you guys, but I kind of felt like he was trying to not get emotional when he was talking. I felt like he was just kind of fidgety and a little bit more like fidgety with his mouth than he normally is. And so I was like, I don't know, maybe I was like looking too much into it, or maybe thinking that maybe he was a little more attached to the Patriots than we thought. But I did like this quote, and he said, "One thing that will never change. I am a Patriot for life. Thank you guys for an incredible day. Thank you to my teammates, my family, my friends, my second family." And he looked at the Craps. "And all of you guys for making it another day in this stadium that I will never forget. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you again next summer." So I have to tell you guys, I did shed a tear during this because Tom Brady was such a big part of my life for 20 years, and he brought me and my family so much happiness, which I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate. So it was really, really cool to hear him say things like, I am a Patriot for life, because there's just been so many rumors and speculation about how everything went down with him leaving, and what his relationship status was with Belichick, with Mr. Kraft, and his feelings about the Patriots organization. So hearing it straight from him, I feel like kind of helped any of those anxieties that some of us may have had about what he thought about the Patriots. So I felt like it was nice. Was it a little bit underwhelming? Sure, but we're gonna see him get into the Hall of Fame, which I'm excited, that they're not going to be doing the 4 or 5 year waiting period, and we can all attend because it's going to be at Gillette Stadium, which I am so excited that they're doing that, because I feel like you have to do that when it's Tom Brady, because he'll easily sell the entire stadium out. Like, they can't just do the typical Hall of Fame ceremony, because there way too many people are going to want to go. And I'm sure if they did it in the typical way, there would be way too many people that were showing up that couldn't get in. So they do have a contest going on right now to win tickets. I think they have it. I don't remember when the contest is, but I already applied, and I'm already looking and seeing how much plane tickets are, and I don't know when tickets are going to go on sale or how much they're going to be, but I feel like it would be really cool if I could go, if any of you guys could go. It'd be cool to meet you guys if we all got to go. So I am very excited about that. So, but let's just get straight into the game, because there is a lot to talk about. Okay. I do want to address the biggest takeaway, I think, from this game, other than everything else I'm going to talk about. But this, I think, is the biggest takeaway, and I think you guys are also going to be excited because, yeah, it was exciting. The defense, man. We knew that the defense was going to come in and be a problem, right? Like, on paper, throughout the summer, throughout the preseason, we were like, yeah, this defense is legit. We knew this last season that the defense has progressively gotten better over the last couple of years, but we knew that they were phenomenal last year, and this game solidified that. This was the first game of the season, and they were able to look and play as good as they did against the reigning NFC champions, who has an explosive offense, from the quarterback to the receivers to apparently Kenneth Gainwell, to their offensive line. And they did great. They shut down their promising first drive, which actually took a lot of time off the clock, nearly half of the first quarter. It was 7 minutes, 18 seconds. They went down in 14 plays, 61 yards. Judon sacked Hurts on 3rd and goal, which forced them to kick a field goal. So that was a great start to the game, because it wasn't looking too good at first, when you're like, okay, well, they might be taking a lot of time off the clock, but they're moving down the field. But that was a great way, settling for 3. The next drive was the only touchdown that the offense scored all day. After that, there were 4 punts, and then it just was like field goal, field goal, field goal. And they forced a fumble at the perfect time in the 4th quarter. The Patriots offense needed the defense to do that. And even though that they weren't able to do anything with it, which we'll get into, it was still just like the perfect timing for the defense. We were all sitting there being like, all right, the defense needs to do something because the offense needs the ball. Come on, come on, come on. So it was a big momentum shift. And it was so exciting to see this because it's only going to get better from here. If this is what they're looking like in week 1 against a very formidable opponent, then what are they going to look like against the teams that aren't as difficult or aren't as talented, aren't as stacked as the Eagles, So I'm very, very, very excited, especially with how they looked against 1, a stout offensive line, and 2, a mobile quarterback. Those were the 2 things that I was most concerned about, especially the mobile quarterback. The Patriots defense has not been great against mobile quarterbacks. We know that because we have to play Josh Allen twice a year. So it was really good to see. Jalen Hurts was 20 of 33 for only 170 yards, 5.2 yards per reception. He only had 1 touchdown, and he was sacked 3 times for negative 16 yards, and he had a fumble. So I don't think that we could have asked for like a better performance from the defense, if we're being honest. Like, were there times where they could have maybe been a little better? Sure, but they were on the field a lot yesterday. I think even Romo and Nance pointed that out, that the defenses were just like exhausted before the game was even over. So I was really happy to see them do that with Jalen Hurts. They also limited the run game to only 25 carries for 97 yards, 3.9 yards per carry. That's a big deal, especially when you have a quarterback who almost single-handedly won the Super Bowl by himself, because he can do it all. Then one of the points that I talked about as well, for those of you who were here on Friday, I talked about how they were going to have to try and limit A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, or at least try and shut one down and limit the other. And I felt like they did a really great job with both of them. There are 2 receivers that are 1,000-yard receivers. Both could be number 1s on any team in the league. A.J. Brown ended 7 of 10 for 79 yards, and Devontae Smith ended 7 of 13 for 47 yards and a touchdown. So as far as the defense goes, I don't know that there was a whole lot there that we were concerned about. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better showing, especially in week 1. So I just had to point that out because, there are other things that we're going to talk about, which I'm going to jump into, like the standout performers specifically right now. But the defense collectively, awesome. So good. So good. So, Ashton says Gonzalez, White, and Mapu will be huge for this defense. Absolutely. I think Belichick might need to be getting more credit for how good this draft class has turned out. People have criticized them, especially because of, okay, well, they went for Cole Strange last year in the first round. What's with that? Or they didn't take a receiver until the 6th round when they could have taken one in the first round. Well, I'm sorry, but the fact that Christian Gonzalez fell into their lap is an absolute joke on the rest of the NFL, especially when you consider it was between him and Devin Witherspoon. The Seahawks took Witherspoon, and he didn't play yesterday. So, the Patriots really, really lucked out with Gonzo falling to them after trading back to 17. So, as far as the standout performances go, I wrote about Mac Jones, so you make sure to check that out on musketfire.com. I wrote 7 articles yesterday, guys. 4 went out yesterday, 3 went out today. Would love for you guys to check those out and, get a little bit more insight into how I feel the game went. But I want to talk about Mac Jones first because, we're fans of Mac Jones here, okay? I don't care what the people online are saying. We give credit where credit is due. So, Mac, first of all, was 35 of 54. So 54 times is certainly not ideal, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And I think the weather was a little bit of a factor in this. And, also, I think I don't know, we'll get into this. I just feel like there was a different vibe to Mac yesterday, which we were missing. So he was 35 of 54 for 316 yards, which I think they said was like it was a top 5 passing yard performance of his career so far. He was 5.9 yards per reception, 3 touchdowns. We know that he threw an interception, which ended up being a pick 6. He was only sacked 2 times, and he had 2 carries for 15 yards. So he had some legs on him yesterday, guys. We were loving those wheels. So that pick 6 obviously set people off immediately because it was in the first quarter. So people were like, okay, here we go. Mac Jones is being Mac Jones. That pick 6 really hurt. And it did. It wasn't a great throw. Even Mac admitted it was too high. The rain impacted it. It went over Kendrick Bourne's fingertips, which then landed right into the hands of Darius Slay, who was able to run it all the way back into the end zone. And, the rest of his throws all day long, they were not perfect, and I'm not going to claim that they were. However, if you watched that game yesterday and did not come away from watching Mac Jones and feeling like he was way more confident than anything we saw from him last year, far more poised than what we saw. He felt more comfortable. Like, there's just such a shift in what we saw last year. And, there were people who were saying, okay, well, comparing this team or Mac Jones to what we saw last year is basically comparing to like the basement Patriots. Like, you're not comparing them to a high standard, which I get, but we also have to think about recent history, because then if you go too far back, then people are like, you're talking about something that happened 2 years ago. So I think if we need to try and see, we know that there was a massive difference between Mac Jones as a rookie and in his second year. I think we're seeing more glimpses of Mac Jones that we loved in his rookie year. I think last year was so impactful on his performance, on his confidence, on his career in a very negative way. And it feels like, to me, this was a prime example of how much of a good decision it was by Belichick to bring in Bill O'Brien. It's clear that they have a really great relationship. And even at one point, Bill Belichick made sure to walk over to Jones and high five him. So it feels like there is some, obviously there are good things coming out of their relationship as well, because that was very strained last year. So I just feel like there's a lot of things that we can take away from this game that were so encouraging. And it's disappointing to me to see that there are people who aren't feeling that way, because I feel like Mac deserves credit for how he looked yesterday against a depleted offensive line, because we know Mike Onwenu and Cole Strange were out, against a very tough defensive line. Devontae Parker wasn't in. It was in the rain. It was the first game of the season. It was a new offensive coordinator to work with, basically an entire new offense other than Hunter Henry and Kendrick Bourne. Like, there was just so many different things that were, new to him this year. And I feel like he looked great. And if that's how he looked in week 1, guys, it's so encouraging. So I felt bad, obviously there were things that he did wrong. Obviously the pick 6, and that is something that people keep harping on, which I feel like he kind of like redeemed himself the rest of the day. But there are a lot of people out there that have already concluded that Mac Jones isn't the guy, and maybe he's not, but I do think that he deserves, some leniency, and we'll have to see how things go. But in typical Mac Jones form, he took all of the blame for what happened yesterday. He said, "We fell behind because of me, and I put it on myself." And then he later said, "I feel like in the most critical times, I played my worst." So this is just the type of guy that he's been since he was a rookie. He's always first to point the finger at himself, and not trying to compare him to Tom Brady, but it is very Tom Brady-esque, where Tom Brady never put the blame on anyone but himself. And maybe, yeah, it is what a quarterback is supposed to do, but I think it's good to see that a quarterback is self-aware of the contributions that they made that were not so great. But I do think that he deserves more praise, and than what he's giving himself. So that's why I want to make sure that I mention what Hunter Henry had to say, because it's great to see this kind of support from his teammates, because Mac was so concerned about how his attitude and whatever was going on last season impacted the relationships and the trust and the respect that he had from his teammates last year. And he had talked about how he was working to regain all of that from his teammates and from his coaches. And so to me, what Hunter Henry had to say after the game just proves even further that he has done all of that. And this performance was, the first big move that made people believe in him again. So Henry said, "I'll just say this about Mac, man. I'll go to battle with number 10 any day of the week. I love competing with that guy every single day, and I'll go to war with him wherever it is, man. Conditions cold, rainy, beautiful day, a hot day, whatever it is, the dude's a competitor, and it's fun to go out there and play with a guy like that." Matthew Judon spoke about him too, and he was asked about how Mac was kind of taking all of the blame for how the game went on himself. And Judon said, "I think as a quarterback, that's kind of how they're going to come up here and talk to y'all. But we don't care about that. Mac went out there and played his butt off. Every opportunity that he had, he made them count." So, this isn't a whole lot different than what we've heard from Mac's teammates over the last 2 years. But given the context and the timing of everything that's going on, and it's the first game of the season, it was really cool to hear. So, the offense seems to be fully in on Mac. And I feel like Belichick kind of gave that impression far more than he has over the last year, yesterday too. So that is obviously great as well. So, let's see. We have a new friend here, Phil. Hey, what is up? He says, "Hey there, longtime Boston sports fan, just subbed. Thank you so much, Phil." Ashton says, "Mac Jones was good, made a few mistakes early, but I saw some improvement. Hopefully he can build off of it." That's my thoughts exactly. And he said, "If they can play like this the entire year, I'm confident they can win at least 9 or 10 games." See, I still had them at 12-5. Which I feel a little bit more confident if they can play like this for the rest of the year. Then I feel more confident with my prediction. I had them losing this game. I'll have to look back at what I predicted, but I think I have them beating the Dolphins next week. So we'll have to see. And next week they're playing on Sunday Night Football against the Dolphins, who had a really weird day yesterday. I know that they walked away with the win, but it was not an easy game for them. So that is going to be an interesting matchup for the Patriots too. Since I already spoke about him, let's move on to Hunter Henry, because we saw that the tight end is back. The tight end that we missed so much last year, who was such an integral piece of the offense in 2021 for Mac Jones in his rookie season. He is back, and we love it. He was 5 of 6 for 56 yards, and he got a 9-yard touchdown. He had that really impressive one-handed catch on 4th down to get a first down. And it's clear that he is going to become one of Mac's most reliable targets again this year. I'm just excited. I liked the little bit that we saw from Mike Gesicki as well. But yeah, Hunter Henry is back, baby, and I am so happy about it. I wrote about his one-handed catch. I feel like it was probably the best of the weekend, and it was really impressive. It was like very Gronk of him, So that is exciting, because I think the tight ends are definitely going to become like a huge part of this offense under Bill O'Brien, and I am happy to see that Henry appears to be like back on track to what we saw when he first came in to the Patriots. So that was fantastic. And Kendrick Bourne, I saw Ashton mention Henry and Kendrick Bourne, very excited about this as well. And again, Belichick spoke highly of KB after the game too, which is a huge jump from where this whole situation was last year, where Kendrick Bourne was basically non-existent on this team. So he went 6 of 11 for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 1 touchdown last year, guys. He got 2 touchdowns in this game. And his first touchdown was a 19-yard pass right before halftime. His second touchdown was for 11 yards in the fourth. Obviously, there were some bad drops that could have been caught. Hopefully, it was just like this 1 week thing. You know, there's some rust that still needs to kind of be brushed off from the off season. And hopefully that's not going to be a problem. He wasn't wearing gloves in the rain, and obviously that depends on like the player if the gloves are a problem or not, because maybe it makes their hands more slick. It's possible that at some point that could have led to these drops, but I think we're definitely going to see a resurgence of Hunter Henry and Kendrick Bourne this year, and I'm really happy because both are playing on a contract year, first of all. So if they both have good seasons, I don't really see any reason why Belichick would let them walk, especially when the Patriots are due to have like close to $100 million in cap space this next off season. So I don't think either of them are really going to garner a whole lot of money from any other team, but I would really like to see them both stay. So if they can continue playing this way, then I don't see any reason why they should go. It's just exciting. Kendrick Bourne just brings such an energy to this offense. He's so electric. And Hunter Henry, obviously, his chemistry with Mac Jones is incredible. So hopefully they can build upon this. Jeez, I keep hiccuping. And we're going to see that. I hope we also see Gesicki involved a little bit more, especially in the end zone. But I don't really care right now. I'm happy with what we saw yesterday. So, Micah says the Patriots will win the next game. That's what I feel like. I feel a little bit more confident going against the Dolphins. And I'm just happy to get this game out of the way early. I know it's at New England, but I'm just glad to get that over with now. Phil also says, I believe the Pats can win 11 with a great defense and improving offense. Yeah, I think that they're more than capable. It's going to be interesting to see how the Jets and Bills play today, because I feel like this weekend, so far, the games that we've seen have gone very oddly. The Chiefs lost on Thursday night. They didn't look great as the team coming into the season as the Super Bowl champion. And the Eagles didn't really look as wonderful as they did last year to be the NFC champion in the Super Bowl. So it'll be interesting because the Patriots might have a better shot than a lot of people were giving them credit for or anticipating for this season, especially in the division, who they already decided the Jets are the winners and they're going into the Super Bowl. So tonight's Bills-Jets game will definitely be worth watching if you are a Patriots fan. It's not going to be enjoyable, because I think 2 of my least favorite teams in the entire league are the Bills and the Jets. Jets even more so with Aaron Rodgers, so that's not going to be fun. But I will be watching and paying attention to see what the Patriots might expect when they finally meet with the Jets and the Bills. So moving to the defensive side of the ball for a second, can we talk about Gonzo? This guy, man, I know I already said this, but I really want to understand how he fell to the Patriots in the first round. I just want to understand, because I mean, the Patriots traded back, 3-4 spots, and they still got Gonzo. Like, how is that possible? This dude started the game yesterday, played on every snap alongside Jonathan Jones. He was being moved all over the place, was predominantly on AJ Brown. So he didn't have, when you look at his passing or his coverage stats, it's not great. He allowed 7 of 11 passes for 84 yards, but he did have a significant pass breakup, which we saw. It was a key 4th down play. It was almost an interception in the 4th quarter. So that was a huge play for the rookie. He had 7 total tackles, 5 solo. He also got a sack. What? Like, it's just one of those things that's so crazy to me, because corners, first of all, when do they ever get sacks, right? And when they do, it's generally not a rookie, but I feel like I have no idea what happened on this play. I rewatched it when I was doing my notes earlier, and he lined up on the line of scrimmage, and the receiver, obviously that he was meant to cover, just ran right past him, and Gonzo was able to just run straight to Hurts. So I was like, okay, like what is going on here? That also came up in the fourth quarter. So yeah, I mean, for all the hype that this kid got coming in to the Patriots earlier this year in the draft, and all of the hype that he built for himself basically throughout the summer, he lived up to it in this first game, and it wasn't an easy opponent, you know. I mean, other than the fact that it was the reigning NFC champions, it's a very electric and mobile offense. They have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. Then we have to talk about the fact that they have a really great offensive line. It was raining. It was his first game ever, and he was able to perform as well as he did. Like, and we have to think about this, right? Jack Jones wasn't in. And Jack Jones is another one that is supposed to be like a starter, like a rotational guy, whether it's going to be between him and Gonzalez, him and Jonathan Jones. I don't know. We'll have to see. But imagine what this defense can do, guys. Just imagine. Like, I'm just so excited. This is how I feel like I wish more fans would be. You know, they don't have to be as optimistic as me, maybe pink clouding. You know, I don't care, but it would be nice if we just got more excited about the development of players and just like embracing the path that the Patriots are on right now, because they're not in a position right now to be a, you know, super competitive team that is like vying for a Super Bowl this year. But compared to what we saw last year, and I know, like I said earlier in the stream, people say that it's a ridiculous season to compare to because of how poorly they played. But we have to compare it because it was just one season ago. The strides that they have made in just 1 year is so noticeable, and it's only been one game. And that's just very exciting because after last year's game, at this point, like, all of us were so defeated. You know, they lost to the Dolphins and they coughed up a pick six or a fumble, whatever it was, and it looked really bad. Ty Montgomery got injured and then was out for the rest of the season. Like, nothing was working well. And I understand it was in Miami, but still, like, it wasn't something that we came out of that game thinking that there was anything encouraging to look for. There wasn't a whole lot that you were like, all right, I think we're going to be good, you know? So I think that we kind of just need to be more encouraged, you know? But I preach this every single year. Even if we were like 0-17, I'd be saying it, but you know. Phil says, I was hoping for a Gonzo pick six yesterday, but hopefully he will get his first on my B-Day this Sunday. Well, happy early birthday, Phil. That would be awesome if he got a pick six. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, you know? I mean, I don't think that he could have had a better showing for a rookie, you know? I think maybe Jack Jones had a great tour showing because he did get a pick six last year against Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, I'm just impressed. And I think, you know, we're going to be so thankful that the Patriots picked him because, I mean, if this is what he did in game one, then what are we going to be talking about, you know, in a few weeks from now? What is Gonzo going to look like in a few weeks, you know? And then moving back to the offense, I'm kind of shocked that this is here, but I think we need to address the fact that the offensive line was a hell of a lot better than I think any of us predicted, especially when that news came out in the injury report. You know, shocking everybody that Mike Onwenu and Cole Strange were both going to be out. So I talked about that on Friday, about the potential of this happening because they both were on the injury report, and you know, we didn't know what their status was going to be for the game. But I mean, I got very, very nervous when we saw that they were going to be out, because that left rookies and inexperienced veterans. I mean, if you can even call them veterans, because is it Wheatley who hasn't even played a game yet? Thinking about that and going up against a very good defensive line had me very concerned that their best offensive lineman and Cole Strange, who has progressed in the last year, that they were going to be out. So the fact that they did not allow a single sack until the fourth quarter, how is that possible? I think that we need to give a lot of credit to those guys that stepped up for Onwenu and Strange, but we also need to give a huge shout out to Adrian Clem, because if this were Matt Patricia's offensive line, I would not be sitting here talking about them as a standout in a positive way, because there was not a whole lot of positive stuff coming out of that offensive line last year, but this was great. It makes you even more hopeful about what they'll be able to do when Onwenu and Strange do come back, which I mean, we have no indication of when that's going to happen. Maybe yesterday was just a cautionary measure. I don't know. I don't think I've seen anything, or at least I haven't seen anything myself about if Belichick has spoken about the severity of either of their injuries. So if you guys have, please let me know in the comments. But that was very promising, very good, especially for the most concerning part of the offense, probably. Like, come on, 5 stars. 5 stars. And then to end the standouts in the positive way, we have to give a shout out to the rookies, because 11 rookies played yesterday, guys. And we had Pop Douglas popping off. Went 4 of 7 for 40 yards. He came up in some really clutch moments. And just all of them all together, guys, like City So and Antonio Mafi, Marte Mapu, like they all, Keon White. Hats off to Bill Belichick, because I feel like he really, so far, for the most part, I'd say probably 90% of the rookies so far have delivered. You know, it might have been minor, it might not have been game-changing, but I do think that this is going to be one of the better draft classes that Belichick has had in a few years. And I think that is so exciting. I'm so excited about that, because what was it? The 2022 draft class, I think is pretty bad. They're either not on the team anymore or they're on the practice squad. So the fact that we kind of look like we're having the opposite effect with the 2023 draft class, I am very excited. It is very warm in my room, guys. Oh, okay. I don't need my Patriots blanket anymore. All right, so let's see what you guys are saying first before we move into the bad stuff. Ashton says he just wants to hear a pick 6 by number 6 one time this year. That would be great. I was kind of hoping he was going to be 0, but maybe, I don't know. He decided against that. But yeah, number 6, that's a good one too. He also says get the ball in Pop's hands more often. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that even as soon as the next game. I feel, I want to see that. I feel like they have some really good weapons on offense this year that it's almost hard to be like who you want to see more of, because I'm excited about Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, Kendrick Bourne, Pop Douglas. I'm excited about Ezekiel Elliott. I'm excited about Juju. There's just a lot. There's a lot to look forward to. So, moving to the not so good. And unfortunately, one of the rookies that was not so good yesterday was Kayshon Boutte. And that was really, really depressing for me, because I really wanted to be able to tweet out a couple of peach emojis for something good with Kayshon, but it just didn't happen yesterday. I think we kind of expected that Pop Douglas was going to be more of the star, especially early on, because that's what it looked like in training camp. Booty didn't really come alive until Douglas wasn't playing. And we only saw a little bit of that like the last 2 weeks of camp. So he did go 0 for 4, which is not good. I think he had some bad drops. So obviously we'll need to pick that up. But he's a rookie. And he took time to get to a point where we were like, oh, okay, yeah, he's going to make the team. So I'm not counting him out yet, obviously. We'll have to see how practices go, and maybe in better weather how he will play. So I think there's still hope there. I don't want people to write him off, but there are people who are. So the other not so good thing, obviously, is the turnovers. So I feel like Mac's pick 6 was just a fluky mess. Obviously, it was a pass that was thrown too high, so that's not great. But it also was one of those things that's like, okay, even if it was a pass that was too high, had Bourne not touched it, would it still have landed in a defender's hands? I don't know. But we do want to make sure that we limit this, because we can't keep doing pick 6s. Like, interceptions are not good either, but I would prefer an interception that gives the defense an opportunity to make sure that they don't get any points, rather than a pick 6, because you can't do anything on that situation, And Ezekiel Elliott's fumble, obviously, I think that partially had to do with the rain, because of when it happened. The rain seemed to really hurt the Patriots specifically in this game, and Elliott's fumble looked like, it wasn't Jordan Davis. Was it Jordan Davis? I think punched it out. And I totally forgot about this too, is Elliott is coming from a team where he played in a dome. So I'm like, was it great that he got a fumble? Of course not. But he'll have to get used to playing in actual weather, because he played in Dallas in a dome. So I'm sure it's going to take a little bit of time in that regard, but as long as they can limit the turnovers, then I think they just, they'll be good, obviously, right? So if you take away those 2 turnovers that led to 14 points, the Patriots would have embarrassed the Eagles, which is kind of sad to think about, because imagine the headlines today had that happened. Imagine, because nobody, not a single soul on this planet, actually thought that the Patriots had a shot at beating the Eagles yesterday. Not even to bring it close. I think most people, I saw a couple people who had it within a score, even if it was just 3 points, but most people had it being a near blowout. So the fact that they were able to, bring it within 5 points to make Eagles fans nervous, then I think that's impressive. Another not so good moment was what was going on with Juju Smith-Schuster. Why was he not being used that much? Why was he on the sideline? What is going on? So I think that there were some talk about that. I think it was the Boston Herald discussed that, but I couldn't actually watch it, or I couldn't read it because I don't have a membership to the Herald, so I wasn't able to. But I don't know if there's really anything there, or if it was just it was the first game, they just weren't able to use him. I don't know, but it's definitely something I think that we should keep an eye on, because they let Jacoby Myers walk, who had a fantastic day as a Raider yesterday, until he got hit and I think was taken out of the game. He got 2 touchdowns yesterday. 27 fantasy points on my bench, which was awesome. But you don't want to see a guy like Jacoby Myers walk, who was a favorite target for Mac Jones, to be replaced by a guy who's then not utilized. So I don't know if it was just maybe being cautious because of his knee, if it was just, maybe they didn't think that it made sense to use him more. I don't know. But I do think that it'll be something that we'll have to pay attention to. But yeah, guys, that's all I had to say about this game. I think, like I said, there's a lot of encouraging stuff to look forward to from this team, and I'm very excited that they looked as good as they did in the week 1, because I don't think a lot of us really had that much hope. Like, we had the hope, but going up against the Eagles in the first week was scary. When that schedule came out a couple months ago and you saw not just their first month, but the first game, we were like, okay, great. Like, this is going to be a rough one. So the fact that they were able to hang in there with the Eagles, who, people already marked it off months ago that they were going to lose, it's a little bit more encouraging going into the next few games, because there were some people who believe that the Patriots are going to go 0-4 in the first month, and I don't want to see that. So next week they do play the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. Luckily, it is in New England, so we don't have to worry about the Miami curse just yet. And I will be streaming on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so we can talk everything about this upcoming game, what to look for, what should we expect from the Dolphins. And I hope you guys will join me on Friday. I will be scheduling it soon, so if you are subscribed, make sure you put on those notification bells so you will see when I will be live. Thank you guys for joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow for Pitts and Sarah's wrestling show. If you are a wrestling fan, we will be going over the Raw Rewind. And until then, I will see you Patriots fans on Friday. I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Go Pats.